I won't pay. Wait, Ava, wait. I've always been there for you, Ava. Can't you grant me at least this? That time before the fire when I saw my parents die when they fell in the world. Did you approach me because my parents were corporate executives and you thought you could get a share of the inheritance? No, that is not true. 706, so it wasn't lucrative enough for you. So what if it was? But it's not only that I also care about you, but it was just about the money for you. You wanted a wife with a good income so you could marry and live a perfect life. I never said that. You wanted a kid so that I couldn't go just yet. I deserve the same. I've devoted myself to you. I've always done as you asked me. And this you did because you've accomplished your goals. I'm glad we don't have kids. I am Ava. I've been married to John for 8 years. We don't have children. This was a decision we made together before we got married. I work as a consultant and love my job. John wanted kids, but he had no intention of being involved in parenting. He couldn't shake off the idea that childcare is a woman's job and naturally assumed I would be the one raising them. I understand how you feel, John, but I'm not planning on having children. Why not? Because I want to continue with my career. But children need their mother's love. It's not about being a mother or anything like that. Children should be loved and raised by everyone. I can't do that right now. I'm happy you want to marry me, but if you want children, it might be complicated. You should choose to be with someone else. Someone else? I can't even think about it. I want to marry you too, John, but this is something I just can't compromise on. He seemed very serious, and the topic of children came up several times after that. I still want to marry Ava. If I'm with Ava, I guess I can live without children. Is that so? And maybe one day we might want children, right? Don't expect that. Whether I will want children or not isn't something I can say now. We talked thoroughly and decided to get married. Both my parents and his parents understood our decision, and I think our married life has been fulfilling. My husband and I met in college. I was in my 3rd year when he joined the club as a freshman, and that's how our relationship started. We both loved movies and were part of a film critique club, engaging in various discussions. Since we liked the same genres, we often went to movies together. One day, he asked me out, and that has led us to where we are now. I loved him too and thought he would be the one I'd marry. But life is once only. I didn't want to compromise on such a big decision as marriage. I didn't tell my husband, but when he said, "Maybe one day you'll want children," he was exactly right. I'm not opposed to having children. It's just not the right time yet. I wanted to dedicate my time to my job, but saying that would give my husband hope. I felt it would be like tricking him into marriage by saying, "Maybe I'll want them someday." So I thought I must avoid that. And now, after 8 years of marriage, we still don't have children. I'm beginning to feel like focusing on my job for another 2 years, building my achievements and skills before thinking about children. Of course, I haven't told my husband this. Raising his hopes would trivialize the serious decision he made 8 years ago. Our marriage has been good these past 8 years. However, one phone call would drastically change our lives. It was a call from the police. My parents had been in an accident and taken to the hospital. I rushed there but couldn't be with them in their final moments. They were laughing and healthy when we had dinner at their house a week ago. I had talked to my mother on the phone 3 days prior, and she sounded fine. Yet there they were, lying cold and expressionless. I couldn't accept it. My husband was there to comfort me in my grief. After the funeral, he awkwardly managed the household chores as I lay in bed. My mother-in-law came and cooked for us. I felt a little relieved, realizing I wasn't alone. However, this relationship was about to be greatly affected due to my parents' assets. Money changes people. I never thought it would happen to me. I took a week off work for mourning. Supported by my husband and mother-in-law, I managed to get by, but I had a job to return to. I couldn't just keep crying. I pushed myself to go back to work. My colleagues and boss welcomed me back warmly. My boss even offered to reduce my workload, but that was counterproductive. I wanted to be buried in work to forget my sorrow. I persuaded my boss to let me handle more clients. I was tired, but it seemed to calm my mind. Then one day, my husband brought up my parents. Hey, shouldn't we start sorting out the belongings soon? It's going to get complicated if we wait more than 3 months. Sorry, I didn't want to bring this up, but I'll help, okay? Yeah, we should do it. I'll help, Ava. You seem busy. It's okay, I want to do everything for my parents. I was never able to do anything for them as a daughter. I want to at least do this properly for them in the end. Okay, yeah, I understand. If it gets too much, just tell me. I'll help any time. Thank you. Following my husband's advice, I spent the weekend sorting out my parents' estate. Their assets totaled about $1,300,000. I continued spending weekends cleaning up the house and sorting through their belongings. While cleaning the house, I was flooded with memories. I was born in this house and left it when I got married. It's full of memories. In the autumn, we did pumpkin carving in the garden and made snowmen in the heavy snow of winter. Remembering these things brought tears to my eyes again. It would be nice to raise a child here. That thought slipped out unintentionally. It was a moment of significant change in my heart. No more doubts. I decided to share my feelings with my husband. But when I returned home, our conversation never happened, and we ended up divorcing. When I got home, my husband was there to greet me. Welcome back. I'm home. Hey, today you received your parents' money, right? What? Well, you were talking on the phone with the bank guy the other day, right? You heard that? Yeah, I just happened to hear it. It's impossible he just happened to hear it. At that time, I was in the walk-in closet. While choosing clothes, I got a call from the bank and talked then and there. Unless my husband entered my room, he couldn't have heard anything. Normally, we don't enter each other's rooms, but that means he must have entered my room at that time. What is this feeling of unease? I was so happy until just a moment ago. Your parents' inheritance was $1,300,000, right? What? I didn't tell you, did I? Well, I saw a note lying around. That's a lie. I did write a note, but it's inside my schedule book. That means he snooped through it. I haven't received it yet. Oh, is that so? Yeah, I'm swamped with work right now, so I haven't gotten around to it. I see. My husband didn't ask anything more, but he seemed restless. Am I just being paranoid? It can't be that he's dazzled by my parents' inheritance. He was kind to me when I was distraught. That just can't be. I tried to convince myself of that, but the next day my belief was easily shattered. My in-laws came to our house uninvited, revealing their true nature. I'm home. Welcome back, Ava. Mother-in-law and father-in-law too. You're here too. Yes, of course. Today is a celebration after all. What celebration, Mom? Wait a minute, I told you Ava hasn't received the inheritance yet. Oh, but it's already decided she will, right? So it's fine. What are you talking about? Oh my, hasn't John told you? We're planning to rebuild our house. What is that? So sorry, I wasn't aware. Oh, well, that's okay. We're counting on the money, dear. What? We're planning to use your parents' inheritance to rebuild our house. The mother-in-law started talking about something I hadn't even agreed to. My parents were both corporate executives. My husband, believing they left a significant inheritance, had told his parents we would rebuild their house and live together, using my parents' inheritance to cover the costs. That's ridiculous. Who would agree to such a thing? I won't pay. Wait, Ava, wait. I've always been there for you. Can't you grant me this one wish? I was there for you when your parents died, wasn't I? Did you approach me because my parents were corporate executives and you thought you could get a share of the inheritance? No, that's not it. I remembered something. You asked a lot about my parents before we started dating, didn't you? What was that about? Well, so it was all about the money from the beginning. So what if it was? But it's not just that. I care about you. You wanted a wife with a good income so you could have an easy life. I never said that. You thought if we had a child quickly, I wouldn't be able to leave. That's only fair. I've devoted myself to you. I've always done what you wanted. You listened to me. That was just preparation for fulfilling your ambitions. I'm glad we don't have kids. Hey, Ava, you're being unfilial by not showing us a grandchild's face. You should at least pay for the house rebuilding. No, I have no obligation to do so because I have no intention of continuing my marriage with your son. What did you say? Mom, that's enough. She's been all about the money from the start. If we divorce, she's the one in trouble. She'll have to give me half of her assets. Well, I don't mind divorcing. Half the assets is a sweeter deal for me. Is that so? Then let's go ahead with the divorce. Could you please leave? Huh? Why do I have to leave? Well, because this place is in my name. Oh, are you going to pay the rent? It's $2,400 a month. Can you afford it? Don't be ridiculous. Of course I can pay that kind of petty cash. Oh, is that so? With your net income of $1,900, you can afford the rent here. Have you been investing or something? Then I guess I should be the one to leave, right? Wait a minute. I never liked this house in the first place, so I'm leaving, but it's not because I can't pay. Ah, okay. But please do leave. Ava, it's a shame you're going to lose half your money. The mother-in-law didn't forget to leave a parting shot. But what about my father-in-law? He was like a statue. Was there any point in him being here without saying a word? I involved a lawyer afterward, anticipating trouble. That turned out to be the right decision as they were making a fuss. Of course, they got nothing from my wealth or my parents' inheritance. My husband thought he would get half of the $690,000 inheritance, not knowing that inheritance is not considered marital property. Foolish. I nearly lost a part of our shared assets, $690,000. But surprisingly, my father-in-law stepped in, disgusted with his wife's and son's behavior. He hinted at divorce. My mother-in-law, desperate not to be left, pleaded with him, and he agreed to stay on the condition that they wouldn't take any money from me. My mother-in-law, not wanting to be divorced, convinced my husband, and in the end, no money was exchanged between us. My father-in-law, when he decides to act, does. He was more than just a statue. He was the only one who apologized to me. He promised to keep an eye on the two to ensure they wouldn't bother me and expressed his condolences to my parents. The divorce between my husband and me was finalized, and I became a free woman. I ignored a single tearful call from my ex-husband. I owe him no favors. He had been living off my earnings, and now he's tightly controlled by his father financially and lacks freedom. It feels good. Meanwhile, I decided to move back to my parents' house and live there. 4 years later, I remarried and am now pregnant. It's a late pregnancy, but I'm grateful for this child. I hope I can do pumpkin carving with this child in the garden.